Go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crusty Canuck Thursday FastBall live stream. I am your host, Crusty Canuck. And with me today is a veteran, all-around Canadian member of the Veterans Coalition Party. He is the public relations officer. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gilbert. Welcome, Gill, to the show.
How's it going, folks?
So, Gill, please tell myself and my audience a bit of your background, your history, i.e., your military service, where you're from, what got you in the military, what got you out of the military, and what got you into the Veterans Coalition Party.
Well, I'm an 8-year veteran of the Royal Canadian Regiment. I served under all 3 battalions. I started off with the 2nd in Gagetown, got married. Marriage was on the rocks, got out to save my marriage. That dissolved within a year of being out, so I came back in 85, went to 3 RCR in Winnipeg, damaged both my knees during regimental PT, had surgery. Boys were going to Germany. I wasn't going to Germany. I had a medical remuster in, so they sent me off to London while the boys went to Germany. And so I did a year in London, waiting for my medical remuster, and I got the old call to go see the base commander, and I'm figuring, oh, right on, I got my remuster, and instead I got the handshake and the proverbial 2 weeks to clear.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And what got me involved with the Veterans Coalition Party is, while I was in the service, we don't really have a chance to voice our opinions on politics whatsoever. So
not encouraged.
And even being in the service, you pay attention to the parties and what they're standing for, and trying to persuade the people, their beliefs on what's best for the people. And I didn't feel that there was a party out there that represented me. So I didn't vote until last year's election, after I became a member of the Veterans Coalition Party. And guess who got my vote? These guys.
So rightfully so. Yeah, I remember every year, or every time election time came around, provincial and federal alike, we'd always get the little email blurbs or the little pamphlets we post in every platoon room, basically to keep our mouths shut and not say this or say that. And every so often we get the company of OC come out, and he would encourage us to vote. Like, that was always a thing, to encourage us to vote, get out there and vote. And I remember the emphasis back in 2006, when the Harper government got in again. I think it was a minority, but I remember the OC, the look in his face saying, "Troops, we need you to vote." Because about the Afghanistan mission, the spending and everything that was going on and what have you. So in my 20 years of service, we weren't allowed to display what party we adhered to or liked or what have you.
You weren't even allowed to talk about it amongst your peers. If you were heard, you got you got chastised for it.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, I remember a young lieutenant pulling me aside and doing the old. But then I was a young lieutenant, so yes sir, no sir, may I have another sir? That was it.
Yep.
So but later on, when I left, I realized all the more reasons for us as veterans to get into the VCP. So, were you at the beginning when Randy started the party? Were you there at the beginning of Ground Zero when he began?
I believe I came in a year later.
Okay.
Yeah. I got drawn in initially by Harold Stewart. I went to a couple of the meetings that he had locally around, and listened to the candidate and the members. Met a lot of great people. Matthew Correa, out of representing DCP in Kitchener. George McMorrow, realized he was a potential candidate for Cambridge, which was right up my alley because that's where I'm from. So George and I talk quite a bit. I go see George. We talk about many things, from politics to family life, and what we've seen in our service, and learned about other countries prior to going. If you're getting ready to go, what the politics was like there, and stuff like that, and we're seeing it all unfold here.
Yeah, I guess it's safe to assume Now, your best guess would be, I would have to assume, we're seeing a lot of tyranny in all branches, not just the liberal mandate, but we're seeing some of the conservative mandate too, with people being fired, just like that. Um,
There's
I can honestly,
always a scapegoat,
yeah,
except for the one that the leader. And in my opinion, like our party, our leader Randy says to the candidates that the only way you're going to get kicked out of our party is if you do not fight and stand for your constituents, not the party line. That's our party line, not like
yeah,
the hamster wheel of politics that's in there right now.
mhm,
You gotta follow the said party's line. Doesn't matter
mhm,
what the constituents want; it's what the party wants.
mhm. And
And
that's dumbfounded now.
but yeah,
It,
that's not, in my opinion, that's not true representation of the people.
well, exactly. I would
It's the
agree
one
with you
percent.
entirely.
They're representing the 1%. The corporations, the ones that give them the big bucks, and then it just baffles me. It's befuddling. Like I just don't understand the logic.
Mhm,
And the people are too complacent to see otherwise. They've been dipping into the same proverbial hamster wheel that not one party is any different than the other. And now what's going on, uh, in my opinion, the parties that are in there letting the current government do and get away with what they're implementing, sitting back doing nothing, fighting for the people, are just as corrupt as the ones that are doing the corruption. By saying nothing, you're towing the same line, where we are different.
So, to the average Canadian out there that's, let's say, disenfranchised with conservatives, liberal, NDP, Greens, whatever independent conglomerate, how would you sell the Veterans Coalition Party? Especially the hypothetical is there might be an election coming in June. How would
Right.
you sell that?
Well, we are a grassroots party. We're made up of strictly uh, Canadian people. We're for Canadians, by Canadians, of Canadians. We're veterans. A lot of us are. A lot of us are emergency first aid responders, and your average everyday Canadian folk like themselves. There is no career politician in our party, and we don't want them.
Mhm,
We want true representation of the Canadian people, the people that know hard line what is what, that's
mhm,
hitting them the hardest.
mhm,
That's what has to be taken care of. Just throwing money to foreign aid to other countries, to make Canada look great in their eyes,
mhm,
knowing damn well that these poor countries won't pay it back. So instead of wasting that money on the proverbial things that they say they're sending it for, those same issues are going on in our own country. Take
mhm,
care of your country first, make your country more sustainable, more beneficial for everyone. And then
mhm,
what's left, if you feel like
mhm,
reaching out and helping them, do so. But first, take
mhm,
care of your own backyard. Don't worry about what's on the other side of the fence.
mhm.
And
Exactly.
that's what this party's about.
And that's what spoke to me too, to become a member and to become a candidate. Basically, common sense, basic basic backyard politics. Clean up your yard before you start worrying about anyone else's yard. Oh, I
Everything
got
that
a
you talk
question
about
here.
at everything you talk about at a kitchen table with your brother, your mother, your cousins, your
Mhm,
fathers, your neighbors, even in the
mhm,
backyard barbecue, sitting by a pool at a holiday, whatever you talk about with your fellow man is what should be dealt with.
mhm.
And
Oh, there's not.
the government's not doing that. And it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter what coat they wear, red, blue, green, orange, right? They're all the same.
Yeah.
They sure when they're parading out to be elected, they'll promise you the world.
Mhm,
But once they get in there, everything they promised you goes to the wayside. They get on that party line, and that's it.
yeah. No, entirely. We got a question here from a Mike Shoesmith. Will there be a period after we talk about the thing in your chin, John? I'm sorry, Mike. I just might keep it now since you've asked me that. In fact, I might grow it super long where I get one of those Viking braids or something on it.
Excellent
And
choice, my brother. Excellent choice.
and then, when I do a live stream, I'll have a nice big mug of mead right here, and I'll be singing old Nordic songs, and maybe getting my Celtic roots and do a fire dance or something. I don't know, but that's a good question, Mike. But there is a time and a place for that, Buckeye. Thanks. But at your point, carrying on though, Gil, yes, politics should not be as complex as it is, as we're presented.
Right.
In my writing, for example, I think there's maybe just under 100,000 people. To be honest with you, I haven't done a count yet. I should do a count. But in this area, there's quite a bit of representation. And I'm not disenfranchising the conservative rep in this area. He actually gave me a call back. He talked to me about the whole Stephen Gilbert censorship issue with media licensing. And you've seen that in your neck of the woods too, how they want to, create licensing and more or less just basic censorship of what we see every day online and what we do every day online. And I asked him about it, and he showed some genuine concern too. So I was
pretty ironic that the government wants to put censorship on social media, but the mainstream media, there's no censorship.
Mm-hmm.
They'll blatantly call you out as a racist when they come and look at your whatever rally you're at. But
well, that's the thing. Yeah, like the Freedom Rally they had in Edmonton there last week. Global and CTV looked at it because there might have been a couple people with torches. They make the assumption that it was racial, and it wasn't racial.
No,
it's about letting people go about their business and do their thing. It's like, and that was it. And I am for one sick and tired of the disingenuous finger wagging and the finger pointing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to sit in Parliament and tell these clowns, enough. Put your race cards away. Okay. Stop saying people of color. Start saying people, because that's what they are. People. We're all people. It doesn't matter what color you are.
Yeah, you cut yourself. We all bleed the same color.
Well, see, that's the thing. And okay, you can acknowledge that someone's black. You can acknowledge someone's Asian. That's great. But that's not who they are.
We look different on the outside, but in here, we're all the same.
It's the character. And I will take that to my grave too. Martin Luther King said it very well. Content of their character.
That's right.
Your actions or lack of them, right? Yeah. I have a history of working for some great people. And some of them were Asian. Some of them were black. Some of them were Italian. There was one individual I worked for briefly who was East Indian. It doesn't matter, and we're constantly having this thrown in our faces about color and color. The Coca-Cola dilemma right now. Have you seen the heads on that? Be less certain. Don't be sure of yourself at all.
Be less white. Now the Bears are losing their jobs.
Poor
polar bears are losing their jobs.
Yeah, do you have to tan some more or something, or what? Should I get a nice tan maybe and walk around like a Ken doll?
Yeah.
Be like a Barney Rubble, perhaps. I don't know. But
maybe they should start making their commercials more ethnic backgrounds. Like make the Bears. One ad be dressed up as Rastafarian, and one being dressed up as a sumo wrestler or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's every nationality you can pick a certain thing and put it to them. Mm-hmm. I'm French, right? Mm-hmm. Bows and arrows. I'm part Indian as well, right? So it's just drawing the line on races has got to stop, and this ideal that Trudeau's got of being politically correct has got to stop.
Well, he's the biggest hypocrite on the grid too. Even today, when they were talking about there in Rebel News about those two poor ladies that have actually been assaulted in the COVID hotels, and the response from the federal government was just abhorrent. It was terrible. Patty Haydu sat there and said, "Oh, okay, protection of Canadians is the number one priority." Miss Freeland, the pint-sized, sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm a feminist, I'm a mother, and I'm a wife, and all this, blah 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 blah," and I find this degrading. And
didn't Trudeau say he was a feminist at some point?
Well, he did say he was.
Yes, he did.
He did. He did. And he thinks honor killings are barbaric. And we know he sits to pee, but that's his prerogative. But Anyhow, so feel free, folks. Please ask us any questions you'd like to know. My guest tonight is Gill Gilbert, Public Relations Officer of the Veterans Coalition Party. Like I say, please keep the questions clean. The goatee is staying, by the way, until further notice, just in case anyone else wants to know. But no, it's just since I left the military, I guess you can say I've had an awakening. Now, I'm not going to use the term woke because to me that's just terrible English. But I've had an awakening when it comes to policies. Now, I'm sure you've had your principles of leadership briefings when you're in the service. I had my principles when I talked with you and got your 6, Margie there. Basically, professional competence has gone out the window. There's no accountability for anything. It doesn't matter which party. It doesn't matter if it's Green, NDP, Liberal, Conservative. We are not seeing the basic accountability for their actions.
I'm also noticing that people that he's put in positions are not qualified. Not qualified. Like Freeland is not a qualified person to be finance minister.
She's a business journalist.
That's it. The Conservative Party had a better chance of having someone qualified with Bouvier, Pierre Bouvier. And of course, now the blue O'Toole has kind of put on the red coat and taken a man that knew his job well out of that position to put him into something else. Now he's got to learn that position.
Yeah, it's a damn shame because I do like watching Pierre Poilievre banter.
That's the man.
He has an excellent vocabulary and a very, very good persona to do that.
Yes.
He's a family man too. And I find it funny that some of the powers that be used to accuse him of being racist, and yet he's married to a woman. I think she's from. I'm not sure where she's from. I think she's from Salvador or something.
I'm not.
I know she's an ethnic minority. I hate using that term. She's a Canadian as much as you and I are.
Yes.
But in this sense,
to be Canadian, as I grew up, we were becoming more multicultural.
Yeah.
Being a young boy, 9 years old, wasn't very often that we've seen East Indians or African Americans, whatever you want to call them, blacks or colored, right? Natives. And then as I grew up and I joined the service at 16 and, started seeing different ethnics in the service. And it's like, wow, yeah, we are multicultural. We're still Canadian. Doesn't matter what color your skin in, and this mass migration that they have coming in, that's another issue that's got to be looked at. Background checks should be done. A lot of them he's let in have ties to ISIS, and we have to trust them. Gotta trust.
Well, he also wanted poetry readings to recoup the ISIS people coming back. He wanted to have poetry readings,
right?
Kumbaya. Let's sit in the drum circle and recoup their terrorist tendencies. Disingenuine. From LMH, we have all federal governments since the year 2000 have been garbage. Probably before that. It's a gradual whittling down of our rights from all sides. Surveillance from cons, gun control from lids. And in a way, I would agree with the LMH.
Yes, I would.
I would agree with that too, because I remember when Chrétien got in back in the 90s, and some of the things that he promised too. He cut the military budget by 30% in 1995, hence the decade of darkness.
Started before then too. That's why the bases were closing. The government was cutting back on the military, and the military had to save money, so they were closing bases and moving men around. That's another reason why I was released. Another way of them saving money. Why spend the money to retrain me into a new trade? We'll just release the man, and he can apply for his pension later.
Yeah, basically sayonara, right? And I remember when Martin got in too, and one of his campaign speeches prior to 2006 was, "Oh my God, if you let Harper in, he's going to let troops in the city." And it's like, well, that's nothing new. They're called armories. Every major city in Canada has an armory, so that's not a new thing. But they try to take the military image and still bust it down again. And that was just, I can shake my head in that.
And I'm with the pandemic stage that they have us in, That's another thing that the Canadian people should be aware of, is the fact that all that they're implementing is not done on data. They have not shown clear, concise data to back up their measures. They've done it all on speculation with models, worst case scenario, never mind the moderate or the medium scenarios, always the worst case. They said that, millions of people were going to die here in Canada, and I don't think we've really done the deaths to the extent that they predicted. As a matter of fact, I believe our numbers are going down, and now, and even though that they enacted the Emergency Act, now they have new variants, so now they can play around with that a little longer and force more restrictions on us with these variants.
Well, the worst
Vaccines.
thing to do is give you a ticket to this thing, But even that gesture alone, giving you a ticket for coming off a plane, minding your business,
Going to church.
Well, churches do
it.
They locked up the pastor in Edmonton here, James.
You can line up like cattle. You can line up like cattle in Costco in every aisle, and even the checkout, shopping aisle and checkout, hundreds plus. But you can't sit 6 feet apart in a church.
Yeah, you can go to a movie now and sit with your loved one. Yeah, in La Belle Provence you can.
Yeah.
But here's another point from Dave Hemington. I guess the NDP will give Trudeau his election now that he's tabled basic income legislation. Of course they will. NDP, Le Bloc, and the Liberals love the free money concept. They just keep forgetting where it comes from.
Yes, it's coming from your pocket. It's coming from your pocket.
Mine, yours, your neighbors, my wife, your wife, everyone.
Your working children. It's all coming from their pocket. There's no free money. There is no free money. When the government says we're going to give you free money, it's not free.
No.
And like the old proverbial saying that I grew up with, got taught, nothing in life is free. There's always a catch.
Yeah. There's always something you got to pay forward or pay back, one or the other. Well, for a simple gesture, one of my principles is this: if someone buys you a lunch, okay, one day you're going to have to pay that forward.
That's right.
Or pay it back somehow.
I do it frequently. I go through a drive-through and I'll buy myself my lunch or my breakfast, or actually I go through Tim Hortons every day, every morning, and my dog gets his 2 breakfast sandwiches. I get my 2 raisin oatmeal cookies and my coffee. I pretty much have a horse breakfast. Coffee and a cigarette.
Well, okay. That's life of the infantry, coffee and smokes, right?
That's right. That's right. That's what keeps us going.
Yourself that canned carnation milk out there too on a busy range day.
And the institutionalized coffee.
Exactly. The stuff you used to put on your boots, fun stuff. Tommy Gunn says,
I always pay it forward. I always pay for someone behind me, always. No matter what line I go.
I've done that a couple times myself. I would say I'd buy their drinks too, because it's been done for me. So little gestures like that helps along the way. So
I had somebody race up from the drive-thru to catch up to me, honk at me, flash me his light to get me to pull over just to thank me.
Oh, no, it's still a kind gesture.
Yeah,
this time and age. So like I say again, folks, if you like what you hear and see, please click like and subscribe and share this around on YouTube. You can also find me on Podbean, find me on Supercast. You can also find me on other mediums too. Check my community page for updates on YouTube and on Facebook, respectively.
So this universal basic income, I'm not a big fan of that either.
No, I'm not either. The idea on paper looks good. If someone who needs it, but then again, we have something called welfare that does that.
Yes.
And that's more of a municipal thing, if anything.
Well, instead of putting it into this format with this universal basic income, why didn't they give it to the welfare offices to give the people more money instead of giving 2 entities for the people to go to?
Well, it's more of a tax racket, I would say.
Right.
It's more of a racket. It's more of an monopoly for the
tax the money going to this agency, and then tax the money again when they give it out to you, and then tax it again when you go and spend it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the debt would be paid off. So they figure. Yeah, right. Like I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Just keep them clean. A question for myself or for Gill here. Like I say, he is the public relations officer of the Veterans Coalition Party, a brand new party in the Canadian political scheme, a grassroots development, all Canadians, all colors, all creeds, all identities too.
Yes.
We'll figure it doesn't matter. We don't hold any kind of identity regulation up in people's faces. There are blacks, there are whites, there are Christians, there are Jews, there are Muslims, there are atheists, there are men, there are women, there are people that identify as this, people identify as that. It doesn't matter. It's the whole spectrum of our society as we know
As
it.
long as you have in your heart and in your mind that you want truth, duty, honor, integrity, accountability, and transparency as you're representing government, we want you. We want you. If that's what you live by and that's what you feel, look up.
Oh, we got a question here for you there, Gill, from George Michael McGraham. What can a Canadian do to join the VCP and eventually become nominated to run as a VCP candidate?
Okay, well, you can reach out to us to our Veterans Coalition Party of Canada.com on our pages. Ask for a form if you want to be a member. We'll send you a form. All it costs you is a stamp and an envelope once you sign and date that form and send it to us. Same thing with the candidate form. Do the same thing. The only difference is when it goes to as a candidate, it will go to Elections Canada. You have to get 125. Is that it? Am I right there, John? 125 names to be a potential. So we always ask you to get at least 150 to 175. Because some people's writing is ineligible, and whatever they find that they can find wrong with it, they just throw it off to the wayside and it doesn't count. So that's why we say to get more. But once you get your 125, you're off and running as a candidate. Right now, we're self-funded. We're doing. We don't ask for donations, and rightly so. The only donation we want is your support. But we sell hats and we sell sweaters and hoodies. What we had in the past, I don't know if we still are, but we're selling rings. We're selling pins. We're selling coins. We're always coming up with ideas on how to raise money internally for ourselves. Because, like I said, we don't want to take any donations because that's what all the other parties are doing. Also, with the other parties, to be a member or a candidate costs you thousands of dollars. Here, it costs you the price of a stamp and an envelope. That's it.
And the size of your heart, too, and what you believe in.
That's right.
Yeah. Democratically based, I would say the majority of VCP candidates I have talked to personally are basically very, very libertarian based, meaning do what you want to do. Just don't hit people, take their stuff. That's simple, right? Live your life with prosperity, peace, freedom, and security. I think that's what all Canadians would like, especially after these trying times the past couple of years. If 2015 has reminded us something, it has reminded us the majority of people in the House of Commons as we speak right now don't really care about you or me.
That's right.
So let's think about, right?
They're only caring about the 1% that they're part of.
Precisely. Another question from LMH. What are the core values of the VCP? Gill?
Truth, duty, honor, integrity, transparency, and accountability. Those are our core values.
Basically being an adult. You want to learn how to be an adult? Come to the VCP party, ladies and gentlemen. We will show you how to be an adult.
And the average person, they're not very politically correct when they talk. They do the F-bombs and here and there. And we're just natural Canadians, and being veterans, more susceptible to throwing those F-bombs out. So feel free.
It would be in the range if you didn't say F this and F that one way or the other.
Fucking A.
Fucking marksmanship principles.
The old proverbial C word that a lot of the women don't like as well, right?
I'll see you next Thursday.
We always had a saying in the military, at least that's useful.
Well, I got a statement here from Mr. Corey Stang. Good to see you, Corey. One of the biggest problems is Canadians watch the Liberals seize power as soon as COVID hit, and no one stands up against them. Even though now they're fear-mongering about new restrictions or harsher restrictions. They don't serve the people, they serve themselves. And rightfully so, well said. Because how many politicians in your neck of the woods there, Gill, were gone gallivanting around, flying around the globe, while telling us common folk, where to shop, what not to shop, what to buy.
Too many, and it doesn't just happen in the federal end. It also is happening in provincial and municipal.
Exactly. So it's
Right in your own house, right in your own hometown. Your mayor's telling you to do something. Guess what, boys? Keep a look on them, because I guarantee you they're not doing what they're telling you to do.
Mhm. True enough. Yeah. So the whole do as I say, not as I do mentality, I think that died in people's lives when they hit puberty.
Yeah, you think?
Really, because
You think?
it's one thing when you're raising kids saying that and doing that, but then when you're dealing with adults that come from all walks of life, it's irrelevant.
And now the parties in the house, they're basically doing the same thing. Like the old proverbial saying, "Kids should be seen and not heard." But the ones that are raising in their own parties, raising questions about what's going on, they're getting ousted.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're getting
Yeah.
ousted that fast. And this is
Mhm.
that's the type of people we want in our party. We want representation to fight for the people. That's what you're there for, not for them,
Exactly. Mhm.
for the people.
Precisely. LMH says the VCP were to form a government, what would its priorities be? I got a
Jobs,
few statements.
healthcare,
You go ahead, Joe.
education, business. Get our oil and gas going. Why buy our gas and oil from other countries and sell ours cheaply? When we could be at the top, we have so much of it. You know what I mean? We should be at the top alongside the ones that we're paying big bucks to get it from. We should be selling it at big buck prices. Our wood, our fisheries. Our fisheries is hurting big time in the East Coast, and we got to straighten that out. The
Mhm.
people are losing their livelihoods, they're losing their homes, they're losing, everything. And it's a trickle down effect. You lose your job, you go home, you're not happy. Your family starts feeling that unhappiness. You're butting heads with the wife, you're butting heads with the children. Things, and then depression and everything. It just comes down on the families, and the government's not seeing that, and they don't care.
Mhm.
They really don't care. All they
Yep.
care about is what they look like to other countries, and
Mhm.
we're not about that. BCP is not about what we look like to other countries. We
Mhm.
care about what we look like to you.
Canada, right? Representing Canada. I was willing to lay my life on the line for this country. To answer your question, LMH, my first priority would be pay cuts for the MPs.
Thirty
If I
percent
was elected, well, yeah, honestly, if
first
I
year,
was
thirty
elected,
percent.
yep.
I would
If I
say
was
thirty
elected,
percent for their incomes, 30% for their expenditures,
mhm,
and their pensions. That should be
yep,
really looked at, because the average
the whole
Canadian's got to
pension,
work till he's 65, and he doesn't get 100% of his contribution of what he's put in. These
neither
these
do you and I.
politicians are getting, serving 4 years and getting 100% of
Mhm.
what they supposedly contributed. Like, come on, right across the board, it should be even.
I would have the governor general elected too. I wouldn't have her
Yes,
appointed. Him,
and
for the sake of tradition, for
the
the sake of
Senate's another thing. The Senate's another thing. I think it's a big waste of money.
mhm.
It's another appointed position. Um, really
Have
not.
those have them elected as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep. If I was elected, say hypothetically, I had a seat in Parliament right now, I'd be pulling in $182,000 a year. Now, if I would table a motion, I'd probably get laughed out of the building. Regardless, it's the House of Commons, House of the People. I would still table it. But then again, I would also give some of that salary to Veterans Association food banks. I would help the Legions and other charities of my choice, just to prove, to these idiots that charity and help from a government official is just as worthy as helping someone shovel snow or helping someone with groceries. It's the initial action. Now,
The way the government has changed how our
mm,
country is run. Um, Folks our age and even older can say, when we were younger, we used to go out and make money, shovel snow, go and do groceries for your neighbor, whatever, help them with their vehicle, whatever. You don't see that today with the children.
mhm.
They're more apt at sitting at the computer and playing games, or you know, just not out there trying to learn about life on how hard it is to earn a living. Because right now they don't have to, because they're seeing that the government's giving money away. Why do I got to work? Why do I got to get an education? I can sit at home and get $2,000 a month from the government. That's wrong. That's got to stop. That's the wrong mentality. That's the wrong message you're sending to to our children. You know, we want a better life for our children than what we had, and we had to fight everything for everything we had. You know, so
There's another great other question there, Gill. What's your stance on regulation? Does the VCP believe in rampant free market capitalism? Does it strike a balance between the market, health, safety, environmental, and labor concerns? I'll take this one on first.
Yeah.
Yes. Free market capitalism makes sure that you have money in your pocket. You can contribute to your retirement. You can help your kids out if they want to go to school and give you the life that you work for. That's simple.
Yeah.
As the environmental concerns in this country are, as far as I'm concerned, null and void. There's already restrictions in this country when it comes to producing oil. Canada is the cleanest producer of oil on the planet. I think next to some American counterparts, not as a whole, but some American counterparts.
Yes.
We are far superior than Nigerian oil, than Saudi oil, than Venezuelan oil, and other conglomerates thereof. The British used to have a hell of a time with keeping things clean. Yes, they have a conglomerate too. The Norwegians are a close second. Okay. But the Norwegian system to me is irrelevant. 60% of your pay goes into the Norwegian democratic socialist model, which to me is no, it's not good. Yeah, you get nice health care, you get nice benefits, decent education, but you're working 40 plus more hours a week, and 60% of that pay is going to the system.
Right.
I don't buy that at all. I believe, okay, a fair tax rate, not a just tax rate,
Right.
a fair one. And if the government can't figure out what to do with 20% of your income, then maybe it's time to get a new government.
Right.
And if it takes them 2 years to figure that out, too bad.
Like I stated, how much money could we save if we started getting elected officials into these positions that are not elected officials, but just put in on a whim, qualified and not being qualified to even be in that position, you know, and then first year taking a 30% pay cut. How much money would we save our country?
Quite a bit. And look at how Parliament sits too. Okay, you remember the time in the service we get time off for the summer, Christmas, March, right? Easter.
But we could be called back at any time. We didn't know.
Exactly. But when you look at it, you get 7 weeks basically paid holidays. Okay. Yep. Now, how many holidays do these politicians get when they shut down for the summer? How many holidays these politicians get when they shut down for Christmas? Right? If it was up to me, I'd have them work until at least the 21st of December, and then come back in January.
Most people don't even do that. You know, most people like us work right till the 24th, may get the 25th off and the 26th and be back to work on the 28th.
Yeah, when I was outside the service, I worked right till the 24th and then maybe the 27th.
Yeah.
And then beg for New Year's.
Yeah, 1 day off of New Year's. That's it. And then back on the 2nd. You know?
There you go.
Our government should be the same way. They should not be pampered. This is that's the whole problem with our government, especially, you know, look at Trudeau. You know, big deal on look at my socks. Really? There's more pressing issues than your damn socks, boy.
When he went to the NATO summit, this first NATO summit, and he did that, I knew we were lost. And the cherry on the top of that was when he told that young corporal at the Edmonton Town Hall, "You're asking for more than we're able to give." And this was just after he gave away $10.5 million because of court restrictions or the courts. Bullshit.
Oh, well, you're talking about Omar.
Yeah.
Again, a known terrorist, a convicted terrorist. You know, they knew about it.
I don't care if he was 15 years old at the time. I don't care what influences he had. He went along with something because his parents said so, and he did it. And
he knew what he was doing, what was wrong. You know, that's the whole problem with right now is the way our government's letting our children be raised is they're not being accountable for their actions. You know, and prime example is Qatar. What better message are you sending our children? Oh, go be a terrorist. Not a problem. You'll get off. You know?
Yeah, go do your things. You can always come back to Canada when things go on, right? Yeah. Okay. Dave Winter asks, flat tax for all. Said on paper that would be beneficial. You know, if you're making $1 million a year, okay, well, there could be something that could be done about that. But I'm not going to give a millionaire a hard time. I really don't care how rich somebody is. As long as people are paying their fair share to what they deem is fair, then that's fine. And I'm not going to take
Stop giving
this.
corporations stop giving corporation kickbacks and clawbacks and you know loopholes to put their money. It's and when I talk about corporations, I'm talking about the CEOs because they're the ones that are pocketing the money. Not the workers in those corporations. It's the higher ups that don't have to do the work. It's their ideal, so that's why they get the big bucks. Sorry, it don't work that way in my books.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Let's say,
it wouldn't be a corporation if it wasn't for the people working for them.
Well, true. And if we do our taxes every spring, when I go to look at the tax model, I look at you go to an account, you keep your T4s, all your slips and everything, keep all your beneficial papers in order. So when you go to file every year, you go to accountant, okay, spend $100 for your accountant to sit there and say, oh, you're going to get this back, you have to pay this much.
Yeah.
A month later, you get a little blue piece of paper from Revenue Canada.
An assessment.
And 9 times out of 10, it said, oh, we reassessed you, and you owe an additional. So what's the sense of me going to an accountant to get this done because everybody else is doing it, like they're told, just to be reassessed again? So which is this? You're calling my accountant a moron? Mm-hmm. Am I wasting my time going to these people to help me with this? Or should I just hand you all my papers and then you decide what I pay?
Yeah. See,
that's what gets me.
And then again, that's done blindly. You don't know. You don't know who's doing it. You don't know what formula they're using. You know what I mean? And you don't know where that money, that extra that they say you have to pay, where is it going? Is it going into that person's pocket? Mm-hmm. Is it going, you don't know.
Going to another trip to the Barbados or Bahamas, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you really think both that the Liberals will ever give up the power willingly?
Never.
No. No, honestly.
None of them in there will.
No. Because they like the cushy position.
That's right.
You see them notionally, rolling up their sleeves on their tailored shirt.
We have allowed them to get this far. That's what our party's about right now. Mm-hmm. The people have been too complacent for far too many generations to let the government get to this state. And if we get in, we want to make it accountable, period. Every friggin' penny will be accounted for.
LMH, so the BPCP end labor environmental regulations. Well, no, of course not. No, we're not going to end regulations. We're just going to be sensible about the regulations. We're not going to worry about Bill C-69 when it comes to gender parity. Anybody who wants a job to work in the oil patch can get one. Anyone who wants a job to work in the environmental sector.
As long as they can do the job, why can't they do it?
Precisely. When unions are actually helping the workers like they're supposed to, then that's a good thing. But if union bosses are going to rally elections and tell other workers who to vote for, there's a problem. Right. There is a big problem.
Exactly about the on that head, like you talk about the hospitals with this pandemic. Okay, the governments are telling the hospitals what to do. Even though the doctors don't agree, they're going to lose government funding. The boards of these hospitals, they're the ones that are pushing all these restrictions that the healthcare professional, you got to get inoculated or you can't have your job. Like the government says, oh, we're not going to force you to take these vaccines. You don't get the vaccine, you're going to lose the right to travel. You're going to lose the right to go shopping. You're going to lose a lot of rights if you keep going with what the government's trying to feed you. They're saying that we're not forcing you, but they are. Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture.
They're sitting there with their fingers behind their back doing the same thing.
Right.
LMH also states, flat tax disproportionately affects the poor. Well, it disproportionately affects the middle class too.
Yes.
Like I just said, you file your taxes, you put together a budget, and you think in your head you're doing something right, and then all of a sudden the rules keep changing, the goalposts keep moving. So if someone's poor, I do feel, because at one time in my life I was poor.
Yeah.
And what got me out of it was understanding where I made the mistake, understanding what I have to do, and to sacrifice things.
And the way
I
the
almost
way the way the economy is now, it's even harder for us regular folk to
Mhm,
save money for that rainy day for your children in later on in life, because the government's just making it too hard for you to do it.
mhm. Well, it's the regulations, red tape, red tape, red tape. Like I mentioned earlier, C-69 has to be gender parity in order to build something. Okay. Well, no one's denying a female a job in any kind of resource sector that I can think of, or construction sectors, or anything for that matter. In manufacturing, my sister works in manufacturing. She's treated like a goddess. Why? Because she works her ass off. She shows up on time and does that little extra.
That's
And that
right.
doesn't matter if it's male or female. So that's a matter of your character.
When I served in the forces, there was no female in my trade whatsoever. There was no infantry woman.
Mhm,
It was all infantry men.
mhm,
That's where the term infantryman comes from, men.
mhm.
But now that they started bringing in women, my look on it was, hey, if the woman can do the job, welcome aboard, sister.
It's the same thing as a police officer or firefighter. If you
Exactly.
can carry your weight and do what's the standard, and the standards are put there for a reason to get the job done, it has nothing to do with the genitalia. It's a matter of
No,
getting the job done. If you
that's
can put
right.
40 pounds on your back and hump 15K, hey, you're good to go. Right?
I've seen tougher women than men.
Yeah, so have I. So have I. And I've actually worked for a couple of female warrant officers that kicked ass and took names. Why? Because they merited and they earned it,
That's
just like
right.
any man.
That's
So
right.
when someone says there's rampant sexism in the service,
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yellow card. Yellow card.
Sorry, Sarge, you hurt my feelings. I need a timeout.
Yeah. There was none of that. I can remember being on parade and having somebody come and inspect my uniform, see a thread and rip it,
Oh yeah,
and lose money for it. You know.
yeah.
Now they got to ask permission to touch you. That's how bad the human rights has gotten in the military. Like it's befuddling. I don't know if I'd survive in the military. I'd probably be more time in jail
Mhm.
than serving.
Well, when I look back at my history, our instructors were not that terrible. They were hard, but they were fair, and maybe we were lucky. But once we graduated, we had a little sit down and talk after graduation, and they would tell us stories about the way they were treated in the mid '80s, and how
That's
they were
me.
treated by.
That was me. That's where I was.
Well, it was nothing for them to get a punch in the face if something was out of line, or a kick in the gut, or
Every
literally a kick.
every company in Gagetown had a sand pit in the back, and the purpose of the sand pit was to take care of discrepancies. You being a sergeant, me being a private, we have our disagreements. It's like you take your shirts off. There's no rank. All the boys in that company form a circle with their backs to the circle, looking outwards, and you take care of the business. At the end of the day, the winner buys the loser a drink, and you carry on.
Yep, all forgotten, right?
That's right. It's
Yep.
called earning respect.
I know some
That's how it
Brits that
was
still do.
back then.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, too. And when I look back at my career, I've had some sergeants that were there. I had some master corporals that were there, bang on, and then there were some that were just assholes too. Maybe they thought I was an asshole. Okay, so be it.
Mhm.
But in the same sense, you can really tell who's there, the interest of the soldier, and who isn't. And luckily, I had some great mentors that made sure that I maintained. You're there for the soldier too,
Yeah,
right?
well, that mentality of not being there for the soldier in my time even went right up to top brass.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yes, yes. How many
Yeah.
senior officers became politicians? You know,
There was
just
a
politics.
there was a certain colonel that we had in our battalion that had us do winter training in extreme weather, where we were supposed to be put down not to be training, and he said, "No, my boys are going to train
Mm.
against all the other colonels with their regiments, saying no, it's too cold." And he put us through it, So teach us tolerance.
Yeah, and then when you're sitting there seeing pink bunny rabbits jumping down, when you're sitting there in your snow trench going, oh,
Mhm. Yeah,
tolerance.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
5 days.
You watch a tree in the field of view walk across the field. It's like, am I seeing what I'm seeing?
What's going on?
Yeah,
What's happening?
Yeah. And it's not
Life-
drug induced. It's not drug induced. It's sleep deprivation.
exactly.
Your mind plays
Tent
tricks on you.
tent routine gets a little dull. The vapors from the nap there are getting you all wound
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. Coffee's not working no more.
Exactly. Well, folks, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask myself or Gill here. Anything you want to know about the VCP or politics and the social spectrum as you see it. And just as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you like it and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe on my YouTube channel under Crusty Canuck, Podbean under Crusty Canuck. You can also find me on Gab, Facebook, Twitter, and all other social medias that are not censored as of yet. So we speak. And please, if you get a second there, folks, please take advantage of my store, a customized girl, Crusty Canuck. If you purchase between now and the 28th of February, you will get 20% off of your items. I have swimsuits, I have shorts, I got t-shirts, I've got patriotic gitch, all with the Crusty Canuck logo you can share and proudly. So, so please, summertime is coming too. So you ladies out there, get yourself a swanky Crusty Canuck swimsuit. Get your husband, your loved one, a pair of Crusty Canuck gitch. T-shirts. Also got buttons and stickers too, and coffee mugs. So please check that out as well if you can. If you do feel like donating too, please consider donating to CrustyCanuck.ca. Links will be in the description. You can find my PayPal, and you can also find the Buy Me a Coffee app at CrustyCanuck.ca. So carrying on with Gill.
Now, talking about donations, I did mention that we don't want monetary donations. It's not like we won't take them, but we don't want the people to look at our party as the other parties that were taking money to be representations of them. That's not the whole goal. All we want is your signature. If you want to give us, $20, $30, whatever monetary value you want to give us, we'll take it, but that's not what we're about. We just want your support. That's the most important thing to us, is your support to represent you the way you should be represented.
Exactly. It doesn't hurt to actually have a kitty for the party when it comes to voting and all that. But if you do want to donate to the Veterans Coalition Party, you can, right at the website, whatever you can. We're not going to sit and cash and solicit and call people like the bigger wigs do.
Yeah, we're not going to put out commercials out there, for $20. This is what you're going to get in the party. Like that's not what we're about.
Precisely. Precisely. Exactly.
We're about the people.
Feel free to ask.
It's time for a party to represent the people.
Yep.
I'd like to see more of our Indigenous brothers and sisters come on board. For far too long, they've been lied to far too long. Been taken advantage of far too long.
I would say more so now in the past 6 years than they ever have been in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants,
there's no reason why 91 First Nations are without clean drinking water.
That's not right at all.
No reason. And the more that the people, if the people look at me and say, this is an old argument. Yeah, it's an old argument because nobody stood up to rectify the issue. How many years have you heard that there's no drinking water on these reserves? And to this day, it's still no drinking water on those reserves.
And why is that?
Water is a basic necessity of life.
And it's not so much the provincial or municipal governments or federal governments too. A lot of it has to do with a lot of the governments within those nations as well.
Exactly. When the government gave the right for these reserves to be self-governed, then the greed came out, just like in Parliament. The greed came out. What's in it for us? Never mind your people of your community. What's in it for us? And that's the mentality that our party wants to change and stop.
Well, I would abolish, I don't know about you, Joe, but I would abolish the Indian Act and stop with the segregation. Lay off the segregation. No more of this. No, we're all in this. They want to sit there and say we're in this together. Fine. All of our people, all colors, all creeds, doesn't matter. We're in this together. There's a hell of a lot of wisdom when it comes to the environment from the First Nations. A lot more wisdom than these so-called know-it-alls who've taken a few climate courses and figurative, interpretive dance and basket weaving. I would rather sit and listen to a native elder when it comes to the environment than some kind of kid with a half-assed degree who loves Greta Thunberg.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally concur on that.
There's more genuine knowledge within the First Nations when it comes to hunting, when it comes to cleaning things, when it keeping things balanced, and there isn't any university campus, as far as I can say.
And I'm also hearing a lot of Canadians talking about what's going on down south. There's more concern about what's going on down south than what's going on, again, in their backyard. They're so complacent and been so complacent for so long that what's going on here, they're okay with it. But they're worried about what's going on with Trump and Biden and everything else over there when there's ample and even worse corruption in our own government.
Yeah.
How many times has Trudeau been found to be corrupt and walking away with it? When are we going to use our RCMP with their motto, we always get our man, and they're letting their man walk in front of them parade like a damn puppet?
That's the brass. Because I personally
and she's appointed by him. She was appointed by him.
Yeah. And she's turned a blind eye too. No,
she doesn't want to lose her job. She doesn't want to lose her job.
$10 billion to Indigenous Affairs. As far as I know, Gill might want to weigh in this. I got to step off for a sec.
Didn't they just give $10 billion to Indigenous? I'm not sure on that. Like I said, I'm just a public relations officer. I don't really follow a lot of the politics. What that would be probably a question better answered either by a candidate or I would say myself, the party leader, which is Randy Joy, by the way. He's a 30-year veteran. So, yeah, I would say that would probably be the best avenue to get that answer. And again, if you have those questions like you're throwing out here, you can always throw those questions on any one of our Facebook pages, and one of them will get you an answer. And if you would throw it to me, I'll try to get the answer for you. So that's all I can promise you, right? It's my word. There's no accountability with these parties, but we're going to try to show you guys that there is a party that does that. So if you have these questions and you want answers and I can't answer them, get on our webpage or on our Facebook pages and throw it to the candidates or the leader himself to answer these questions that I can't answer.
Well, see, that's the thing too, because you throw $10 billion into something, you would think that 25 grand can create a beautiful cleaning water system, a system that can clean the water properly, whether you have 10 households or 20 households. Trudeau gave away a lot of money in his first 3 years of government, but where did it trickle down to? That's the thing. So my concern is that if we're going to budget something for any group of people, it's for the sake of helping people, not because of the color of their skin, not because of their identity, but because it's supposed to help the community at large.
Right.
I know billions have been invested in the First Nations. Billions have been invested in helping the less fortunate nations in the world. Well, let's start putting billions back into Canada.
Now that $10 billion to Indigenous Affairs, again, a lot of that money is being taken from the CEOs up there, and they're following the guidelines that they see the government running with, and they're doing the same thing to their people. There's just as much corruption in the Native community and politics on the reserves as there is in our own house.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then the moment you question that, all of a sudden you're deemed as a racist.
Yes. I was up north. I was in Winnipeg, and I was doing security and working with the Norway House Cree Nations. And, the people would get money at the end of the year given to them for Christmas. And it was disproportionate to what the band council members were getting. Mm-hmm. And then family members affiliated to them outside of the council were getting compared to the rest. And which is what's happening here in Canada. Same thing. And it's wrong. That's got to stop. That
3
mentality.
For me, 1 for you. 4 for me, 2 for you.
Right.
It's like watching a Little Rascals episode.
Right. Yeah.
Joe CC 5052 says, also reached out to the youth because a lot of Liberal voting base are youth. You need to take that base away to kill the party. Well, I don't want to annihilate the Liberal Party. I want them to be humbled. I would love to see them humbled.
Our government wants to change the voting age.
Mm-hmm.
And I disagree with that, because really, your mind doesn't stop growing till I believe you're 25.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Now we have the voting ages are different in every province, just like the drinking ages are different. I think it should be straight across the board, all the same, all the way across, in my opinion.
18 across the board. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start paying federal income tax, you can vote, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he makes a point about reaching out to the youth, because a lot of so-called younger people have engaged on my profile, saying really stupid things about, oh, you're a fascist, or you're a communist, or how can you say this? How can you sit there and
Trudeau's more communist than we are.
Oh, fuck
He's
yeah.
the worst communist. He embraces communism. He's changing Canada to be communist.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if this is what you want your children to grow up with, nothing worse than what they're taking away from you now, they're going to have worse than that. If you keep voting in this hamster wheel of politics, doesn't matter, blue, green, orange, whatever, it's going to get the same outcome, because all they're doing is towing that party line. What can I get out of it in the end? And it's not about I in the VCP, it's about you.
Exactly. It's about, what can I get for this? How many benefits can I get out of it? How many perks can I get to travel here?
Why do I gotta work when, like, the lady or whoever it was that said that comment about the youth?
Yeah.
The youth are looking at our Liberal government going, this is what they want. They can get money for nothing. Why do I gotta work? Mm-hmm. Is that the way of life you want your grandchildren to have? The mentality that I don't have to work, I can get free money. Mm-hmm. That's communism. People take these trips to Cuba. They go online and they check all these sites, and oh, it's beautiful there. Go outside of those whatever they call them. I've never.
Yeah, if you go to Haiti, check out how the little socialist scheme has worked.
Right? Yeah.
Check out Cuba. Check out, if you're ever allowed to venture into mainland China, what are you allowed to say? What you're not allowed to say?
Yeah.
I've debated communists online.
Try to use your phone. Try to use your phone and talk on your phone and share on your phone what you do there.
Yeah.
You'll be having the police on you faster than white on rice.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I say, folks, please feel free to ask any questions you'd like to know. Just clean. Please take advantage of the 20% off of Crusty Canuck swagger at Customized Girl. That offer will stay until the 28th of February. So get yourself a swimsuit, some patriotic gitch, hats, mugs, t-shirts. Check out the Crusty Canuck store, Customized Girl. Address on the bottom as we're speaking right now. And please check out the Veterans Coalition Party. You'll see Randy Joy there explaining basically the party manifesto, rules, regulations, and what we stand on. Please, and think about us come federal election. Look for the VCP, or even join today and contribute what you can. Give us your 2 cents worth, and maybe become a member of the party and stand up for something right, something good, something real that we call Canada. Right.
And when we say everybody, we mean everybody, even the LGBTQ2 group. It's everyone. I know a lot of those guys and gals in that group are afraid because of the way they've been looked at and the way that they've been treated, not just by society, but by the government. And they're scared to put their hat in the fight. And that's what we want. We want those people, they're no different than you and I.
VCP
Again, everybody has a right to believe in what they believe in, just like these mandates, wearing masks, Now you have the maskers against the anti-maskers. You have the vax against the anti-vax. It all comes down to choice. We all disagree to disagree, but I'm not going to enforce my beliefs on you, just like you don't have that right to enforce your beliefs on me.
Well, yeah, we don't care who you sleep with. We don't care who you love. Do it well. Do it well.
Exactly. If you're happy, I'm happy for you.
There you go. I don't care if Bob and Steve get busy. I don't care if June and Anna get busy. I don't care. I don't care how you identify. I don't care if you want to be Bob 1 minute and be Betty the next. We don't care. It's not
Right.
an issue. The issue is that you have the freedom in this country to choose and to be,
Now
to live with peace.
here's the way I thought about fighting the government on these gun bans. He did state that the indigenous people can keep their guns,
Mhm.
and he's the one that brought in about this self-identifying crap, right? So I say to every Canadian that has guns and wants to keep their guns, self-identify as indigenous.
I could. Yeah. I'm Indigenous Celtic. Does that count?
You know, play the word game that they play. You know, that's all they're doing is playing words. They're not doing promises. They're not keeping promises. They're not being held accountable. There's no checks and balances ever. You know, you look at them talk to each other in the house. One asks one's a question, and the other one doesn't even answer the question, but he's giving a recorded speech. Almost every one of them can verbatim say the same crap. That's a waste of your money and my money. They're supposed to be hashing out the issues, and they're not, because they don't want to answer it, because they don't want to get stuck.
Well, LMH asks again, what would the VCP do with healthcare? You can go jail now. I'll give my 2 cents in that as well.
Like I said, a lot of these questions I'm getting, I'm just a public relations guy. I'm out there trying to get candidates and members. Questions like this, I feel, are best asked by yourself, a potential candidate, or our leader. Again, you can send all those questions to our emails, Veterans Coalition Party, Veterans Coalition Party of Canada.com, and send those questions out, or reach out to John here. He's right here right now. He can answer that question.
My take on healthcare is having people have a choice. Keep the socialized medicine that we have now, yes, because it does work for people that do need it. Regardless of this pandemic or not, there have been people that have been beneficial. However, I don't believe in the hype, but I also believe that if you have the money to get a better surgery or a better opinion, why not? Let people have the choice. It's a matter of personal choice.
Yes.
Okay, because we all pay into our healthcare system, whether that's provincial schematic or the federal schematic. We all pay into it regardless. Okay. Every time you get a paycheck, there's some taken off for health or this insurance or that insurance. Every time you get your taxes done, chunk of it goes to health. Every job you work at, chunk goes to health, chunk goes to health. Fine. Let people have a choice, though. If you make an extra few $1,000s a year and you have the opportunity, let's say, go to the States to get this operation done because it can be done within a month rather than within a year, why not? Why not?
Same with our education system. The government's telling our schools on what to teach our children instead of what's needed to teach our children. History is a very important fact because history is now repeating itself. If you look at what's being imposed on us, was no different than what Hitler imposed in 1938 to 1945.
Or what Stalin imposed from his whole reign. Or what Mao Tse-tung was imposing on his people too. The only thing different.
Or Stalin.
Yeah. So it's it's not a double-edged sword. It's just common sense. The VCP basically is a common sense party. If we don't have $200 billion to give away to some nation that the UN says, oh, they need help, then we don't do it. That's simple. We don't work for the UN. We work for Canada.
That's the only thing I agreed with Trump about was the fact that he fought the UN all the way. And we had Sock Boy trying to take all our tax dollars to get a seat to only fail us. How many failures are you going to take from this man and our current government? Doesn't matter what party's in there, because they all failed. O'Toole's starting to show his failures already, in my opinion. So to be a leader of the Conservatives, it's all about the bottom line of what they get out of it, and that's got to stop because it's not benefiting you at all.
No.
And it's not benefiting. When I say you, I mean you as a Canadian, and as well as you as Canada, because we are all part of Canada. We are what makes Canada great. And right now he's destroying us by dividing us more and more.
Here's a good comment. But he's so marketable. Vomits and mouth. Yes, well said, LMH. Yes. Just 1 second. Whoa! Precisely. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's got nice hair. I got
Oh,
nice hair. I got nice
I've got
hair.
a great little goatee too. I know some of the fans don't like that. Like I said, I'm gonna grow long enough. I'm gonna braid it and put a big Viking clip into it. The next live stream, I'll have a glass of mead and I'll be singing war tunes. That kind of thing.
I'll let the Fu Manchu grow a little longer. Ancient
Precisely.
Chinese secret, huh?
Wow, we just aged ourselves. Oh, man, oh man. Yes, feel free, folks. Please ask us anything you want to know, whether it be VCP or Canada or the politics of the social spectrum as we see it. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, and today my guest is Gilbert, the Public Relations Officer of the Veterans Coalition Party of Canada. And hopefully when they call an election, I'm thinking maybe June, that we'll get some seats in there and actually get some proper debate going back across the floor, as our parliamentary system should do. I see hints of it through some conservative members, even some members of the bloc have made some point in regards to coming to security of this nation. There's some Wexiteers that I talked to personally that make some valid points when it comes to the sovereignty of Alberta and how Alberta and Saskatchewan are being treated by the rest of the country. And it's totally unfair.
Totally.
Joe, what?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Canada won't be Canada if they separate. We didn't allow Quebec to separate when they threatened to separate because again, it would have made us have to be a separate country because now we'd have to go to a different identity to get to the other side, the maritime provinces that are still Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So, to have Alberta and Saskatchewan separate from us again, it's not making Canada look great. And I'm all about unification instead of separation.
Oh, I agree entirely. Yeah. I agree entirely. There should be a unified spirit, just like there was in 2010 when Canada got the gold.
Yes.
I remember that unified spirit. That was fantastic. Even 2002, the unified spirit that Canada had when Canada won the gold in Salt Lake City. That was fantastic. But I would like to see not just a hockey game unite us, but common goals, common ground, peace, security, freedom, and prosperity.
We gotta increase our manufacturing. Here in Ontario. We lost. When I was a kid, steel factories were everywhere. My hometown has 2 canals that go through it, and the shipping of steel going back and forth, and ore and everything else. That's now stopped pretty much. Stelco is downsized. A lot of companies have left because of prices that we were being charged to sell our product and stuff like that. So yeah, we got to start. We got to start manufacturing. We got to start our oil and gas. We got to start our lumber. We got to start everything from the ground up. Everything that they took away from us all these years, now we got to rebuild.
We got approved through Encompass Credit Union of an interest rate of 2.99. They shortened the enumeration period.
Just keep it low because they can hear. So,
what are you doing?
My live stream. You see me do it every Thursday here.
Anyway, 15 years is 25.
Wow.
Our payments are 90 instead of 91.
That's good. That's good.
I mean,
That's raw, brother. That's exactly what Canada needs to see is how raw our party is. We are no different than them. We are a common person.
Mm-hmm.
We are no career politicians, and we don't want career politicians because their mentality is about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we all have our trials and tribulations in day-to-day living, and we all understand it. And there's no judgment. It should be all about building unity and being stronger together than being is separated.
Oh, exactly. LMH, would VCP reinstate the old Veterans Charter?
I would love to see that because a lot of the people like myself, when we got out, we fell under the old charter, and because they've changed the charter, a lot of us are losing out of what we were entitled to, and I think that it should be brought back.
I would agree. Yeah, proper benefits, but then let's cut the red tape out of it too, and keep.
Well, our federal government wiped their hands of us and threw us to the provincial. You know, and when our contract is federal. When we sign that dotted line, that's a federal contract, not provincial. So why are we being left for the provinces to take care of us and pay us what we're due instead of the federal government? Again, it's a way of them to save money in their pocket and force our provinces to lose money. You know?
Oh, understood. Okay, let's get a few more questions, ladies and gentlemen. Please feel free to ask us anything you'd like to know about the VCP party and Canada and the social dilemmas we face today. If you want to know more about my podcast and what I do, please feel free to ask us any questions, or if you have questions with Gill, pass it up, folks. You know, don't be shy. Yes, I don't know. Like, I dealt with Veterans Affairs. It was a lot of teeth pulling, you know. It was a lot of red tape, a lot of paperwork, and I was actually told by a couple of representatives, you know, oh no, you can't have this. Oh no, you can't have that. Oh, you can't have this. And it's like, well, why am I on the phone wasting my time with you? And luckily enough, it took a local politician and a shrink to give me a hand. And it shouldn't have to come to that. It shouldn't. But in case there is, and
I'll give you a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of my story on that take. Okay, I've been out since '88, and when I got out, I was told I couldn't apply for a pension until I was 55. Okay, there was no mention of me seeing a doctor to get a psychiatric evaluation to see if I had PTSD or TBI or any of that sort that they do now. You know what I mean? As you're getting out, you go see a doctor and you get these assessments done. I didn't go and see my first shrink about my issues. I didn't think I had an issue. I thought I was normal. But then, after many failed relationships, failed jobs, not keeping jobs, it's like, there's something not right then. Is it me? So I went and got myself checked by an outside source, and they told me that, yeah, I have some issues from my childhood and stuff like that. And then they also said I had issues from my service. So they sent me to see an OSI clinic, and it was just, I'm still fighting it. I just got an OSI assessment done here in Ontario, and I'm hoping that it's going to be favorable because it's befuddling to me how a veteran out from '88, this is now 2021, and he's still fighting for his rights. That's pathetic. And having all these veterans hospitals that we had all closed because the government said, it's a waste of money, but they didn't think of the soldiers that were doing their bidding for them. And now we have a group, VMMCH, Veteran Memorial Medical Center Society. The leader, the president is Rolly Lawless, and the vice president is Clarence Jr. So I think, we should have more hospitals. It'll speed up the backlog that's in Veterans Affairs right now, because of the fact that they have the ability to one-stop shop, and for a veteran to go into a civilian thing and a hospital, with issues, like myself, I have issues with being in a building, and now seeing a fellow soldier there, being an infantryman, you're not trained to ask questions because you're not to question why. You're just to do or die mentality. You don't ask questions. You don't know how to ask questions, and then you go see these so-called professionals. They're asking you questions, and you don't know what they're saying. And a lot of us are honest people, and we say things that obviously end up shooting us in the foot in the process. So
a couple of years after I left, to really, really open up with the issues that I had. I first started having problems around 2007, 2008. And when I would talk to somebody, it was usually a social worker. Okay. And, you get this assessment, that assessment. And then, there's always some military major. Oh, you've got no real problems. You're good to go. And you take it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when those problems regurgitate a few years later, you get the old adage, the old stigma. Oh, suck it up, suck it up. Well, okay. That's the problem. I did suck it up. How am I venting? You got to vent. You got to get it out. You got to get it out. And
yeah, because you become a sponge that's so saturated that eventually it just seeps out. You can't hold it in no more. It's a stuffing till all of a sudden it's shaking that bottle, pop, and then all hell breaks loose, and you're not aware of it.
Yeah,
that's the
thing, and that's why a lot of guys who aren't with us today, they self-medicate. They're abusive to themselves. They're abusive to loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, something bad happens. And then what?
Yeah.
Then it gets written off. And then the spouse of said individuals, they have to fight for the benefits they're supposed to be entitled to too, which isn't right.
It's pretty sad. A soldier with missing limbs has got to go in front of a board every couple of years to show them that they didn't grow back.
Or in front of the prime minister and ask him what gives.
Yeah.
That's the thing. How would the VCP get any traction without a seat? Well, we'd probably get the same traction as the PPC would. We'd still get out there and fight the good fight, get the word out, and hope every election there's the opportunity for a candidate to represent his or her riding to the best.
It only takes one seat for us to get in to make a start to make a change.
Yeah.
One seat. It'd be nice to get more than one seat, but it only takes one seat to start to make a change. We're about coalition and forming unification with other like-minded parties, be it the PCs or the Independents or the Greens or whatever other parties. I think there's 26 parties total. I could be wrong, but I think there's 26 of them. Not everybody knows them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not represented in the debates. The only ones that are represented are the main parties. Here in Cambridge, the VCP wasn't even invited.
Mm-hmm. And that's not right. If it takes 2 days to do a debate, so be it. Let it be.
Yeah, that's right.
LMH says, first get a seat. Military towns might be a good place to start. Petawawa, what do you think there, Gill? I got to step up for a second.
I try to reach out to all the veterans out there. I've reached out to the Veterans Commandos. I've reached out to a lot of veterans that I have on my friends list. I post stuff that videos that I've done trying to drum up candidates and members, hoping that like-minded will jump on board. It's a hard go. I'm not going to lie, but we are growing. When I got on, there was I think 25 members, and we're over 50 now. So we'd like to get at least representation for all 338 ridings, and then attack full frontal attack would be the way I'd like to do it, or see the party do it. Anyways, not me. I'm not the leader. I'm just the public relations guy. Any other questions out there? I'd like to see our Constitution looked at. It's been played with Justin's dad when he was in, and I think it should be played with some more to reinstate some of the things that he took out, and to have things put in like this gun ban is taking guns away from legal gun owners. That went through the right steps according to the government to be a gun owner, and have them taken away, but yet the real crime that's being committed is by illegal guns coming across the border. or guns being stolen from break-ins and stuff like that. It's crime. That's the issue is fighting the crime with these guns and holding them responsible. Now the government is letting criminals out and being soft on criminals, that did things with illegal guns, and now they're putting people in isolation jails, coming back home on holidays. You're like, really? In my opinion, why are you forcing someone that's a resident of Canada to stay in a hotel at their cost for 3 days when they have a residence here that they can do that quarantine in? If you want to send somebody there to check on them to make sure they're there doing their quarantine, you want to force them to put that money out, then do so. But in my opinion, I think a person coming from holiday should, go home and self-isolate for the 14 days instead of having to spend the thousands of dollars to be tested and stay in a hotel that you don't need to be doing.
Well, the taxpayer's expense, and for what?
It's not even the taxpayer. Well,
yeah,
it's the person coming home.
Yeah. $2,000 in a hotel for 3 days to prove what? And to be fed a mediocre meal. And now we just heard too, Michelle Rempel and Ms. Stubbs have tabled the information that there were 2 females that were assaulted by these private guards.
Yes.
Sexually assaulted, not just whistled at or, any kind of buffoonery, but proper misogyny in its highest form.
And property stolen as well.
And what has the Liberal government said about that? Oh, we stand up for this, we stand up for that. And let me make it quite clear. It's all verbal diarrhea. They're doing nothing.
Because
they want to own their shit, basically.
Yeah. Empty promises. Empty promises. Exactly. Same thing they promised you when you voted for them to get in there. Empty promises. And like I said, our only party line that our leader wants us to follow is fight for you, our constituents. That's our party line.
I agree.
That's it in a nutshell. If you don't fight for your constituents, you're out of there. We'll find somebody who will.
Yeah.
That's all he asks.
Emphasize your point as a politician. If you're voted again, let's say after the 4 to 5 year cycle that you can do here in Canada because of our parliamentary system, then you still have to fight for your constituents regardless. We're not aspiring to be career politicians. If we get in, hey, that's great. That's fantastic. If we get in a second term, that's even better too. All the more reasons to take a stand and fight, right? If I was elected, I would say pay cuts. If I can't do my job for $100,000 a year, I think there's a problem.
I'm living on less than that now. I'm just above poverty, not very far above poverty. And I gotta fight to get what I'm getting. $40,000 for a single man like myself a year, that's comfortable living for me. So if I was a politician for the VCP, which I'm not, I'm just a public relations, but if I was a candidate and I was in there, I would take that 40,000 that I was used to living on comfortably, and I would keep that. Everything above that, I would donate. Into Canada in some form or way. That money above the 40,000, I would put back into Canada.
Yeah.
Not the foreign aid. No. Canada. What's important to Canada? Our oil sector, our trees. Where are these trees that he's promised to plant? These 2 million trees.
You could go to any nursery, whether it's Ontario, Alberta, Gill, any nursery, buy your token 2 trees for $10 a shot, and do your part to stop the carbon footprint.
Right.
There, done. Environmental problem solved.
Well, I'll give you another example. Hemp grows a lot faster than your tree. It can be used in many ways. Matter of fact, I think I just shared with you today a post about a plane made out of hemp. Stronger than steel. Stronger than steel.
Yeah.
Hemp has a lot of use, as well as it can help with the carbon footprint. It doesn't take as long for it to grow full size as a tree does. Right?
You can get 2 good crops out of two growing seasons. especially let's say Southern Ontario or the interior BC, where a lot of fruits and vegetables are grown, you can get a lot of hemp and a lot of use. Clothing, protein,
I don't agree
fuels.
with what our government's doing to our farmers.
Mm.
You know, they're being hit hard. Look
Yeah.
at the price that you're paying for your beef and your milk. You know, and if you think that's hard for you, go to a reserve. Some places you're paying $8-9 for a 4-liter jug of milk.
Mhm.
You know, you're paying $50 for one steak or 2 pork chops. Like, come on, folks, don't complain. And you worry about gas prices. Now, there's another thing. You're
Yeah.
paying more. You're paying more per liter of water than you are for gas. And people are crying about the prices of gas.
Well, it's carbon taxes. That's the thing. It's the 2 carbon taxes, right? For the sake of saving the environment.
Mm-hmm.
You want to save the environment, you need to punish the proper polluters, not
But
you
yet
and me.
he's giving money away freely to the highest friggin' countries with the worst carbon footprint.
Mhm.
Does that make
Exactly.
sense to you Canadians? Don't make sense to me.
No, not me either. So, okay, folks, give us a few more questions there. We're going to shut this down about another few minutes here. So please keep the questions clean. Ask myself, Jill, or anything you'd like to know about our stance, BCP, Canada, and the social spectrum as we see it. And if you do feel like donating, please donate at CrustyCanuck.ca. You'll see the banner at the bottom of the page here, right? You can reach me at CrustyCanuck.ca. I have a PayPal link and to buy me a coffee link. Please donate or use the super stickers on YouTube. Donate what you can. You know, I like to make this job a full-time job if I could, but I'm also throwing my hat into the ring for the VCP party. That's the Veterans Coalition Party for Blackfoot and Battle River area here in Alberta.
We
And
just
I would like to go head-to-head
we
with
just
our local.
gained 5. I think we just gained 5 more potential candidates in the Ontario riding. So
Well, that's a good thing too.
when
Even we
I
get
when
a
I came in, there was only 25 representatives as candidates, and I think we're over 50 now. So we're growing.
it's getting there.
And you know, it's a slow go for us because we're not getting talked to by the mainstream media.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's the thing.
the only ways that we're getting out here is through social media like this, you know, Facebook and BitChute and YouTube and, you know, podcasts from you and podcasts from Elle's Place, and then We Got You 6, and I started my own Veterans and Canadians talk show with me, myself and Marge Matchy, who also has her show We Got You 6. So yeah, that's about it. That's the only way we're getting out there, and we need representation from these other entities of media, mainstream, and we're not getting it. For some reason, they just don't want to talk to us. I've reached out, and we thank you for your email. We'll get back to you. And typical politician remark.
Exactly. Oh, thank you for bringing that to our attention. You know, like I said, our rep here, he actually called me and we talked about freedom of speech. And I said, people are getting tired of this garbage. What to say, what not to say. And I remember I actually had an email from a disconcerted listener, to say the least. He was trying to tell me because he had a degree in civics that free speech is irrelevant because, and this was his excuse, okay, nobody can say fire in a crowded movie theater. Why is free speech so relevant? And firstly, my question to him was, who in their right mind is going to do that? You know, and secondly, why is what I have to say so troublesome to other people? Why is what
My comment to that it would be when he said use fire. Okay, fire instills a panic reaction. You know, nobody wants to get burned. Nobody wants to get trapped with fire. Just like flooding. You know what I mean? In my opinion, yeah. You know, so that was a poor analysis and on his part, in my opinion. You know, something more something. If he was so well educated, he could have came up with a better synonym to the situation.
Yeah.
No different than me coming up and going, hands up. What's the first thing you're gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna think? Oh my God, I'm being robbed.
Well, see, that was
Am
the
I gonna
basis
live?
of his argument, right? Because he probably stole that from Krista Freeland, because she made a mention of that too. You know, why would anyone in the right mind even say that to somebody? Fire, fire, fire in a crowded theater. Well, no, that's just stupid, and then you get slapped with a fine for being a moron.
Right.
I get it, but if someone's on a political platform and they're speaking about a proper unfairness, i.e., basing job applications based on the color of your skin compared to qualifications, then you should not stifle that person,
Or
regardless.
age, or
Anybody,
age. Again,
or
age,
age, or
you know?
gender,
Yeah.
precisely. You know,
Like,
regardless of
there are people who are retired. Yeah, okay, they take their retirement and then they find out, I have too much time on my hands. What can I do? So they want to, go back to work.
yeah, or get a part-time job doing something, just to
Yeah.
kill their
But
time.
again, the part-time jobs they're getting, it's at minimal cost. And with their age comes wisdom, right? So a lot of times they're not given the chance to be a leader in what they're doing instead of being the proverbial follower. Everybody's got to start somewhere, be a follower to become a leader. I understand that. You know what I mean? But with age comes that leadership quality, because they've gone through those steps.
Mhm.
Once they learn the new job and what's entailed in it, if they have the qualification at their age, they should be given that.
Exactly.
But the companies are looking at, well, how much time am I going to get from you in that position
Mhm.
at your age compared to how much time I'm going to get from a 24-year-old that doesn't have your qualifications? We're going to give it to him. He's going to have the time to be able to get the qualifications you got and work for us longer. I see that point. But again, you're discriminating against the person that already meets that criteria.
Mhm. Precisely. We'll take a few more questions from the floor, and then we'll shut this down for the evening. So please, ladies and gentlemen, give us your questions, your thoughts, or queries. Like I say, look at the bottom of the screen, and you can find the moving banner. If you feel like donating, donate to CrustyCanuck.ca. Everything's appreciated. I'm not going to sit here and demand cash. I like to make this a full-time position if possible. So please consider donating. And if more information, check out the banner below too for Veterans Coalition Party of Canada. Feel free to ask any of us any questions in regards to the party, where we stand, and what we see this Canada becoming, and what we want it to be. So,
We are stronger together than divided.
exactly.
And again, we are together. We are the 99% against them, the 1%. And when I say them, I include the politicians, the corporations, and the elites. They're the 1%. We outnumber them. So if we peaceful rallies, oh, I'm going to get arrested if I go. If you want to wear your mask and you want to social distance, as long as it's peaceful, we have that right according to our Constitution to do so, and you should. Instead of pitting each other against each other, you should be working together. This is what our party's about: is working together to make our country great. Be more self-sustaining than having to rely on buying the goods that we have here, selling it at a low rate, and having to buy it from somebody else at a higher price.
Exactly. Brittany Lawson says population should be encouraged to pursue entrepreneurial ventures and learn trades. I agree. Citizens will be more accountable when they are responsible for their livelihoods. Precisely, you nailed it in the head.
Yes.
The question, being allowed to do that, we shouldn't have to ask permission to do that. But every day, we're getting that with the freedom rallies. We're getting that with the airports. People that want to start up a business, and all these red tape aficionados stepping up, making sure they're counting their pennies while they're telling little business guy or gal what to F and do. And it gets ridiculous. But yeah, well said.
How is a person like a mom and pop store not essential when big box stores are? A beer store. Why is a liquor store and a beer store so essential, but a mom and pop store isn't? A confection store or a boutique or whatever, right? It's essential to them. It's their livelihood. This is how they put bread and butter and pay their bills. No different than these big corporations. The only difference is the big corporations are getting cutbacks and loopholes to be able to keep doing what they're doing. You know,
And who's anyone to dictate what's essential or not, too?
precisely.
Who's anyone to dictate that? Arenas are essential. Entertainment, if you can afford it, it's essential. If you can do it, it's essential.
They say they want entrepreneurship, more entrepreneurs, but they're making it harder for these entrepreneurs to stay in business because of the fact that they're saying that they're not essential.
And not to mention the other tax brackets they put forth before the pandemic. More payroll tax, more income tax, right? So in order to pay your personnel or pay your staff, you got to pay a tax on that, and then you got to pay a tax for the land you're on, and you got to pay a tax for the store you're in, right? And the employee's got to pay an additional tax because they got an extra 6 hours this week. Oh, great! They got to pay tax on that too.
And then they pay more tax when they spend it, right? So
cut the red tape.
I'm just saying, in the indigenous belief is for how I was brought up. Someone who does not talk the truth talks with forked tongue, which is no different than a serpent. So, what's our government doing to you right now? They're talking in forked tongue. Is that how you want your country to grow? Is that the values that you want your children to have?
Oh, I agree. We'll take a couple more questions here, ladies and gentlemen. Please get your questions in. Make sure that they're clean and they're sane. We don't mind the odd F-bomb, the odd C-bomb, but keep it legitimate, ladies and gentlemen.
Randy, you are so true. We are more connected as a community if we supported each other than the corporations. So true. I try to buy local before I go to any big box office. I haven't been into Walmart since I don't know when.
Mine was last month, and that was for some washer fluid because they had a sale on it. So
first, I went to Canadian Tire when this pandemic started, and they gave me a hard time because I can't wear a mask and I can't wear a shield because of the conditions I have, and I have a service dog. So when I said I can't wear a mask, they tried to get me to wear a shield. Now I went in there with a GoPro on the peak of my hat here, and I put the shield that they provided me on top of that. So it stuck out like this.
See, a glorified visor.
So yeah, I walked through the whole store. Hi folks, and they were looking at me like I was off of Mars, but I was playing their game, As long as I had that on my head, I was allowed to move about freely. Really? Come on, folks. Was that protecting anybody? Okay, now I'm immune compromised. And I've been not wearing a mask from the get-go. Okay, and I've been to Calgary in rallies and amongst large groups of people, and I've been back. And I have not shown a sign, and I have not been sick. And you know what I got told? You're lucky. You're lucky. How can I be lucky for so long? That's like playing Russian roulette, right? That luck's going to run out. Well, for a year now, come on, over a year now, folks. I should be a millionaire. I should have bought lottery tickets, and my luck for winning a lottery is just as much as what I'm doing right now.
Exactly. Well, we know it's a con, but it's getting brighter. Anyhow, folks, we're going to shut this down for this evening. This has been the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball. My guest tonight was Gilbert, Public Relations Officer of the Veterans Coalition Party. You can reach him at the address I have posted here, Veterans Coalition Party of Canada.com. Feel free to ask anything you want to know. Maybe become a member, maybe become a candidate. That's up to you.
I'll even give you my own email address. It's hpmg at gmail.com. If you want to,
I'll put this up here.
Like I said, if I can't give you an answer, I'll point you in the right direction to my ability,
HPMG, HPMG what?
HPMG6356 at gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm all about trying to help people understand what we're about. And like I said, if I can't answer the questions that you're asking, I'll try to find you the avenue that you can.
Exactly. And I would do the same too. You can find me at John Irwin VCP, a Blackfoot, Battle River riding, or here on Crusty Canuck. Send me an email, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Crusty Canuck, Twitter, Instagram. You can also find me on Gab, Signal, and Telegram too. And every week, I try to get at least a couple episodes up of the podcast up. So please pay attention to my community page and my Facebook page for updates, right? Oh, we've got a few more. Wow, we got 8 more questions all of a sudden here. There we go. There we go there. George Michael McGraham. Oh, here's a good question. Can the profit be limited off these vaccines that are being pushed heavily to crisis? Well, who knows?
That's be limited. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's limited because they're not even being what's the word I'm looking for? They're not being
Not being procured properly for starters.
right. They haven't gone through the proper steps to be put out safely. They came out way too fast. Look how long it took for us to get the vaccine for polio, and now all the other diseases, chicken pox and measles. You know, it took years before they came out with the vaccine, and now it's so readily available for COVID. And again, a vaccine, in my opinion, is to fight you from being able to get the virus, but yet they're giving you these vaccines, and you still got to wear a mask. You still got to social distance. Does that follow under a vaccine in your knowledge? You know,
Exactly.
again, it's conforming. It's like the mask. The mask is made to muzzle you. That's all it is. It's just you put your hand in front of your face. That's muzzle. You put your hand in front of someone's face. You're muzzling them. No different than what the mask is doing. Okay. Now I'm hearing impaired. You put a mask in front of your face, I can't hear what you're saying. I need to be able to read your lips. Now there are deaf people. They need to read your lips. You have a mask on, they can't know what you're saying. You know?
Here's the VCP stand on guns. Keep them.
Well, I think all legal, as far as I know, we think that all the people who went through the right means to have guns should keep them. Bottom line, you know, like I said, the gun issue that we have that we should be fighting are the illegal guns that the gangs are getting. They're even making guns now using pellet guns and airsoft rifles. You know, they're switching parts from stolen guns and so that they're not traceable and stuff like that. They're even doing 3D printing of guns. You know, I have a royal brother that was murdered here 2 years ago in January, and it was done with a 3D gun. It's still open case.
Because they figure, you know, my stance is this: if you own a firearm, keep it. You know,
as long as you took all the proper courses that the government said,
you have it legally. You have
right.
You have yourself one of these. You get one of these,
Yep.
and you're allowed to keep your guns, as far as I'm concerned. You do the proper testing and qualifications, you're allowed to keep them. I'm also a firm believer in self-defense rights as well, too.
Same here.
No more of these tying up the courts when it comes to defending your home.
Well, see, that's what I was stating earlier. I think our Constitution needs to be revamped. You know, somewhat similar to what the United States have, the right to bear arms. I think we should have that clause in our Constitution.
I agree.
Because the number one rule that I grew up with, understanding why they have the right to bear arms, is for this very fact. What's happening here in Canada? The government's taking control. And the people didn't want the government having that ability, so they wanted that in their Constitution, so that they have the ability to fight back when the time came.
Precisely. Or, you know, to defend yourself. You know, I'm not saying someone should have a 50-round belt of your standard GPMG.
No.
But I am saying if you are a gun owner and you're responsible with your gun, then whatever. Leave people alone. Just let people be.
Leave the legal responsible people alone and go after the criminals and the illegal guns. You know, crack down on these borders where these guns are coming across, or the shipyards, or, you know, that's every means that they're coming in. Airports, You know, more stringent on entry points of where these guns are coming in.
Precisely. Yeah, and Wally says no more 5 rounds restriction. I agree to that too. Common sense.
Yes. Yes. There's no need to have a 240 round belt. There's no need to have a 30 round clip or even a 10 round clip. You know, your standard 5 round clip is plenty.
Well, 5 rounds or 10 rounds, just common sense. You know, it's just, you know, you're not going to go fight the enemy anytime soon. So
And again, you know, with this fully automatic and semi-automatic, again, that's a debate issue. If you're a responsible gun owner, it shouldn't be an issue. The only time it becomes an issue is when you're using it for crime. You know, killing as many civilians as you can with it because you got the gun to do it. You know.
Yeah, and you can't buy full auto across the desk in Canada.
No,
you can't. You get semi-auto, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, the only people that I know that have full auto are military and police.
Mm-hmm.
They have those variants that they get that's bought for them by the governments.
Right.
Okay? You and I, we can't go across, you know, with our cards and our qualifications and say, I want to buy this automatic rifle. You can't buy an automatic rifle.
No.
Legally in Canada. You can get a black market. There's been cases of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you do that, you're in a whole world of shit.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to shut this down. Like I said, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 25th of February, 2021. Stay tuned to my YouTube page, community page, and my Facebook page for updates. My guest tonight was Gill Gilbert of the Veterans Coalition Party. He is the public relations officer. You can look at the banner below. You can find his email. Contact him. Ask anything you want to know about the Veterans Coalition Party. Or myself, Crusty D. Canuck 67 at gmail.com. If you feel like donating, please go to crustycanuck.ca and donate there via my PayPal or the Buy Me a Coffee application. Well, Jill, it's been a slice. Thank you very much for coming out and giving us your time on this episode.
Brother. It was great.
Fast.
I'm getting easier at these things. You know, I'm the type of guy, I like to stay behind the scenes. That's why I took the position of the public relations officer, but it seems like I'm out here. So I'm getting better at it.
I'm impressed, and I'm glad to be serving along with you in this fight we know is democracy for our beloved Canada. So thanks again for coming out, Jill, and thank you, my audience, for putting up with our political banter. And it's because of people like you that make these shows and the Thursday Fastball such a good thing to do every Thursday. So like I say, pay attention to my page on YouTube, on the community page for updates, and my Facebook page for further updates. Like I say, on behalf of myself, Crusty Canuck, and
you guys
Jill,
are tired of the hamster wheel of politics. Get on board.
Exactly. Check out the VCP party today. You won't be disappointed. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones. And remember, folks, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care and we'll see you next time on the Fastball. Bye for now.
Smiles always, boys.